What's up guys, TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always, and in today's video I will be talking about a highly sensitive topic, and it's regarding the buffing of the Mishimas, the Hellsweep tracking, and the electric with recovery. It's been very controversial. The developers have gotten a lot of I can't remember last time I saw the community this upset. Probably Leroy Season 3 overall has had some great moments, and let's just say some not so great moments. And yes, a lot of people are really upset with the Mishima buffs, so I thought I could today give my honest opinion. So first off, reading the patch notes, I could not believe what I was reading. Hellsweep tracking improved, and then I saw that in practice mode when I tested it, that holy shit, it actually tracks towards Kazuya's right shoulder, and it's the same for Devil Jin and Heihachi. This is completely absurd, and of course dumbs down the Mishima gameplay a lot. You have to worry much less now about the depth, people sidestepping you to your basic 4-4-3. Certainly that does not track a lot, but now with the Hellsweep tracks, it's like his very basic 50-50 has now more tracking. So obviously it makes Kazuya much more simplistic, Devil Jin much more simplistic, but a crazier buff in my opinion is the electric. If you combine the Season 2 buff of the tracking, again towards their weak side, with the faster recovery, this move is like by a mile the best move in the game now. It's just absurd when you combine it with the risk-reward ratio on this move right now is like fucking bonkers. So the Mishimas are more brain dead. They've simplified them. Is this the first time this has happened? No. The aforementioned electric buff, certainly simplified things. Especially for Kazuya, who's always had trouble with people stepping towards the left. Let's have the electric track. Yay! Dumbs it down. But already vanilla, the original version of Tekken 7, put in, of course, the brain dead Oki we have with Kazuya in. It used to not be very simple back in the day. You'd knock someone down with a Hellsweep, and then you'd probably try and stomp, or down back 3. But all of this could be avoided by the opponent just timing a little roll on the ground. So you had to worry a little bit about what he does on the ground. In Tekken 7, they gave him the Demon Steel pedal with forward momentum. Forward 4. This does this crazy fucking backflip on the ground that sets up another 50-50 or another forward 4, and suddenly you have a 3 times as effective and just easier to use vortex, and god forbid they try get up kick and they get fucking launched. So certainly the Mishimas have been made easier ever since the first rendition of Tekken 7. So yeah, absolutely. Do I like the fact that the Mishimas are getting simpler? No, I don't. I take great pride in playing characters I feel are as challenging as possible. That's why I've always had great respect for Armor King players, Steve players, Brian players. Just insert characters where I feel you have to work really hard to win. I really like that. This makes it much easier to win. So in my opinion, this is not a good change. But it's fair to say that this is just typical Tekken 7, simplifying things. In the universal system of Tekken 7, compared to prior games, they made the movement much more restricted. Backdashes and sidesteps are not very powerful in this game. They don't cover a lot of distance compared to prior games, like Tag 2 and then Tekken 6, Tekken 5. It's like, comparing someone in a wheelchair with a sports car, almost. It's completely different worlds. If you would just buff the movement in this game, Mishimas would immediately become top tier, because they could control the matches, Today, Tekken 7 is all about poking and being in your face, but if you buff the movement, you can get out of pressure very easily, and Mishimas can set up devastating 50-50s, sidesteps into electric punishes. Boom! You wouldn't have to touch the electric or the Hellsweeps, and they would be top tier. Just to stress, the importance of movement and what happens when you restrict it, look at tournament results in Tekken 7. And lo and behold, you see dominating tournaments, you know, used to be Jack, Dragunov do very well in close quarters with pressure, Kazumi, Geese, Jin, Akuma, Steve, you know, all of these characters who do really well up close. And this is because this game forces you to play up close. And this makes it very problematic for Mishimas. And that's why Mishimas haven't been doing as well as they did in Tag 2. It's due to the restricted movement. So I feel maybe the developers felt that, okay, we don't see Mishimas in tournaments, it would be hype to see them. They also looked at the win ratio online. Mishimas are doing terribly. They are at the bottom, at the absolute bottom. Maybe it would be cool to see them more in tournaments. This is obviously going to make that happen, I think. But could this be the wrong way of doing things? And this being a little bit over the top? Absolutely. And it also hurts the characters in that it simplifies them to a very high degree. But still, you know, I see this. It's problematic overall, this theme in Tekken 7 of simplifying things. Again, with the movement. And do you think it's a coincidence that a guy like JDCR, who had impeccable movement in Tag 2 and played Armor King and Heihachi, do you think it's a coincidence that he started out with Tekken 7 just playing Dragunov non-stop 24/7? Why is that? Well, one thing was the input lag, which he confessed really hurt Mishimas, but it was also about what happens to a character like Dragunov, this unstoppable momentum monster with Wild Running 2 and super powerful frames on mids and throws. What happens when you restrict the movement? People can't sidestep as well or backdash. Well, his pressure is incredibly effective, you know, and Heihachi without movement, or Armor King without movement. So I just want to demonstrate this interesting comparison of a simplicity that Tekken 7 brought, where it just simplified things to an absurd degree. I'm gonna pick Claudio because I feel like he represents this so well, and Armor King represents so well what Tekken used to be. So again, Armor King was a great character in Tag 2 for many reasons, and it has to do with frames and his moveset as well. But one of the biggest reasons that you don't see in his move list is again just the fact that the universal system, the environment he is in right now. In Tag 2 you had big movement, which was great because he had the dark upper. One of the best whip punishers, or CD1, CD1 or down 4, you know, with good movement. You could always place this, you know, from far range, so the opponent, even if they blocked that, their while standing punish would whiff. So Armor King always worked well with movement. So they reduced the movement. That hurts Armor King. And then they made throws easier to break. In Tag 2, you had 15 frames to break a throw. A 15 frame window from the impact frame. In this game, again, simplifying things, you have an additional 5 frames, a total of 20 frames. So suddenly, Armor King, regarding of what his move list looks like, has a much tougher time in this game. And then you have Claudio, and of course, you know, this is what hop kicks used to look like in Tekken. This was the classic legacy hop kick. Everyone did this. It always had no range and only low crushing. No range whatsoever. And then Claudio, to me, represents the modern Tekken. No decision making. Everything is so easy. Moves, these super moves that just cover every single thing. You don't have to think anymore. It's almost like it plays itself. I'm just gonna stress also that Claudio has the best win ratio online. Only DLC characters like Leroy, Zafina, and Ganryu do better. But if we look at the characters that have been with us for a long time, and Claudio ever since the launch of the game, he does the absolute best. And he also does okay in tournaments. He was in the Tekken World Tour 2019. Much thanks to Shadow, who plays an amazing Claudio. But now let's look at the modern hop kick. Oh, it actually whiffed. What? This is the new improved Tekken 7 hopkick. If you look at all of the original Tekken 7 characters, they all have the new hopkick. And what does this hopkick do? Incredible range, and it not only crushes lows, it also crushes highs, and it also crushes some mids, like downward ones. It can go right through them. So it can literally steal turns. And it's still only -13. And again, the range. Again, simplifying things a lot. And the back one. Moves like this, you did not find in Tekken games prior to Tekken 7. This is a move where you don't have to think, because it does everything. Oh, is your opponent stepping left, stepping right, backdashing? In prior games, you had to think a little bit about that. I have to use A, B, or C to cover different things. In this game, back one. Let's just look at this move, this absurd move. -5 on block. It's a long-range knockdown wall splat mid. -5 on block. It's also homing. So again, it controls space in that you can't really backdash it. The range is so strong. You can't sidestep it. If you're jumping and it hits you mid-air, it screws you. It's literally perfect. And then again, Armor King, he has none of these super mids that I'm describing now that just does everything. So again, it just shows the struggle of Armor King in this game. And then we look at his counterpart with a yellow Jaguar mask, King, who does much better. King was given one of these perfect mids. And this is again how they've simplified the game. Rather than balancing the whole character, the move list, and see how it works together, they just give the characters 4 or 5 crazy attacks. That's what they do. And that's why it's so easy to pick up new characters in this game. You just look for these absurd attacks. And you can basically play most of the characters using 5 of these over-the-top moves. Or these 5 over-the-top moves. So King, forward, forward, 1. Again, it is -5 on block. It has near infinite range. It hits Xiaoyu Art of Phoenix. It hits very low. It is homing. It is +14 on hit. If you counter, it launches. It is pretty much a perfect attack. And again, in this game, you limit the movement, but you also put in these absurd attacks that completely control the spacing, repelling all forms of movement. And Asuka, forward 3, many characters have these types of like super attacks that you just couldn't find in prior games. In prior games, you actually had to, use A, B, or C, or D, depending on what your opponent did. But in this game, it's like, these just absurd moves. So, and the hop kick, the modern hop kick again, characters like Katarina, Noctis, just stuff like that you didn't see in prior games. So I hope I've made this pretty clear what I'm trying to say, that what they did to the Mishimas, it's like, well, welcome to Tekken 7. Might as well throw in tracking Hellsweeps. But maybe what they should have done is buff the movement universally. Would have maybe made for a more interesting game, and would have automatically buffed the Mishimas without doing absurd stuff like a tracking Hellsweep. And again, the electric recovering so fast is like, well, that move is just bonkers now with the combined with the tracking. And they've dumbed down the Mishimas. It's sad, but they've dumbed down so many characters. It's like, look at Paul. Used to be much more complicated. In this game, his down forward 2, his quarter circle forward 1, his death fist does 1 billion damage. I mean, it always did, but it does much more in this game due to the scaling of combos. And his quarter circle back 4, his quarter circle forward 3, decision making has been made so much easier because all characters are given 5 incredible moves that pretty much overshadow their entire move list. And of course Dragunov, who I loved in Tag 2 because he was so technical, is completely brain dead in Tag 2. Completely brain dead. And that's why I dropped him, because I don't like that. I like challenging characters, you know. Yeah, these buffs, it's like, well, welcome to Tekken 7. And will we ever get justice for characters like Armor King, who are stuck with these hop kicks? Very average mid tools. You know, bad tracking, where people, you know, sidewalk your throws that are easy to break. Wow, you have a cool dark upper, but movement is severely limited. King is given these super mid, you know, super attacks in comparison. Oh, like King's sidestep 2 as well. Also just an absurd move. So it's like, yeah, welcome to Tekken 7. And did the Mishimas deserve buffs over other characters like Armor King or Eliza, that has absolutely crazy gimmicky shit that blows me up and most players, but in high level play, you know, her frames are rubbish. Some of the worst I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, you can absolutely question how the developers go about things, but yeah, this is overall a much simpler game in many ways than the games we used to play, but it's complicated in the worst way possible, in my opinion, in that it has 49 characters. A Tekken game with 49 unique characters. Not even Tag 2 had this many characters, and Tag 2 had a lot of clones. So this is 49 unique characters with 100 moves each. And so many of those moves are strings and shit, and it's like, who the hell has time to learn all of this? I mean, it's so fucking bloated. So it's complicated in the worst way possible. Where with Kazuya, you want a complicated game plan, and that, oh, if he steps me, I have to be ready for that, I have to use a different option. No, let's just make the Hellsweep tracking. And it's like, boring. And then the worst way of complexity, just a million characters, and it's like, that's not fun. That's just sitting down, grinding, studying frames, you know, until you grow a 50-meter gray beard. So yeah, I love Tekken 7. I think it's great. I think they've done a great job. They revived Tekken. It almost died after Tag 2. It was too hardcore, so they simplified it. I absolutely understand why they did that. But are some of these decisions to me very problematic? Well, absolutely. And I would have maybe done things differently. But in the end, they saved Tekkens. It's like, it's complicated. You can approach this from many different... I wrote down a lot of pros I thought about this decision, a lot of cons about it. I'm not going to get into them all. I've been thinking long and hard about this. But I hope we see more Mishimas in tournaments. I think especially Devil Jin is a monster now. Kazuya as well, but Kazuya still remains very unsafe. He takes too big risks, he has very bad poking, but Devil Jin with this electric and the tracking on his launching Hellsweep, I think you're going to see a lot of him in tournaments. And maybe Kazuya as well, but again, he's not as good in tournament play. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I sure hope you all stay safe in these very troubling times with the corona, global economy taking a hit, and the health hazard. I really hope you all stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, everyone.